Alright, welcome back everyone to another LEGO Star Wars video, and today we have a very big video. So, we have known for a couple months now, of course, that LEGO Star Wars will be celebrating the 25th anniversary in 2024, and in particular, coming out with some special minifigures for the occasion. And we've known for a couple months now, two of those being, ARC Trooper 5s and Darth Malak coming in sets for March 1st, 2024. And before we get into the actual pictures, we do have, good quality pictures of basically all sides of every aspect of those minifigures. I will be breaking down in this video, the good parts about them and the parts that could be better. But before we get into that, if you guys have not subscribed yet and you guys just find me from recommended, videos, definitely be sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button. We are very close to 52,000 subscribers. So starting off here, the first figure is coming in 75379, the Buildable R2-D2, coming out March 1st, 2024 for $100. And my initial reaction of this figure is, I think it looks fantastic. I think they knocked it out of the park here. And so of course it's got the head, it's got the jaw piece, it's got the cape, it's got the torso, it's got the legs, then a regular red lightsaber. And let's break it all down here. So I think starting off with the actual head, I think the head print, they did a very nice job on it. In a perfect world, I think there could be a little bit more dark bluish gray maybe, representing kind of like those patterns on his face. But honestly, from a front view of the actual head, it looks fantastic. And the fact that they're actually doing the, missing jaw on the head, although, you can't technically see it when the other piece is on, but, just to kind of know it's there and be accurate to the actual character, you got to give them credit, man. Moving on to the actual jaw piece here. Some people are saying it looks kind of big, and I kind of agree. I think it's very accurate. I think it's fantastic that they did a new mold. But quite frankly, you have to just understand, for them to be able to do the mold even, it's got to be a certain amount of thickness anyway. So I see no problem in it. I think the head and the actual jaw piece are pretty much 10 out of 10. And, when you look at those together, I think, look, anyone that knows anything about Star Wars and pays attention to a little bit of Legends, a little bit of Old Republic stuff, they can tell, it's a Malak right there. Moving down, we got the cape. I'm a huge fan of the fact they included this cape in there. The capes are always a little up in the air, whether or not, that's reddish brown or dark brown. In the reference material, it does look like it should be a little bit more of a darker brown, but there's also some toy companies that make it a lighter brown. So one thing I will be honest with you throughout this entire video, I've never played the Old Republic games, so I don't know any personal kind of eye reference to the character over the years, but just off of Google image searches and everything, between the kind of 50% that pops up for reference material from the games, and then also the 50% of reference material from other toy companies and other action figures over the years, it is kind of strange how there is on pretty much every color on him, there's always some level of color difference, a little bit darker here, a little bit lighter there. A lot of these images are not the same color. So the cape, honestly, I think going this color, it is what it is. And a lot of times when LEGO makes these brown capes anyway, sometimes they come out darker, sometimes they don't. So I wouldn't doubt sometime throughout production, there might even be a darker batch that maybe gets found on some Malaks anyway. But either way, man, the fact they included a thin cape, I really think that's close, and accurate to how, Malak actually has his cape. And I got to give him mad credit for that. So I'm moving down to the torso and the legs here. All right, here's where we start kind of getting into our first kind of two pieces of actual controversy that I've seen throughout the day. Number one being the color. Okay, they went with a regular Lego red here. A lot of people are saying it should be dark red. A lot of the customizers over the years have always made it in a dark red color. But again, the more you look at these reference materials, there are a lot more shades of dark red that I can tell, but there are some of these toy companies that have made it relatively, regular or bright red, okay? So one thing I can say here is, me personally, I can't really be mad or happy one way or the other unless I really see them side by side. This exact minifigure in dark red versus, the one we're actually getting. I'm perfectly fine with the regular red. I think it gives a very nice pop of color and really goes well with the rest of the color scheme of the actual minifigure itself. So I'm perfectly fine with the regular red. I'm a big fan of it. Of course, the torso printing, it is what it is, perfectly fine. No arm printing. Not every minifigure needs arm printing. There's really nothing you could even do for a character like this. You could maybe technically put some of those little clothing patterns on his arm if you really want to get crazy, but I don't blame LEGO for not doing that. Moving on to the back of the torso here, the biggest thing, no 25th anniversary logo. That is massive, okay? So you could argue in a scenario like this, it would have been covered by the cape anyway. But, unlike in 2019, when those were remakes of old minifigures that kind of technically you needed those logos on them to really be able to tell them apart, Darth Malak and ARC Trooper 5s and the other ones this year, These are all their debut figures. So if you want a regular Darth Malak for your collection, this would be the only option to get a purist one, unlike in the 2019 ones where they have the logo on the back. If you wanted a non-logo version, those exist, okay? So I'm happy they don't have 25th anniversary prints, at least on the Malak and 5s, all right? And presumably the ones in the summer. That book minifigure still could be a different story, but when that leaks, we will get into it. Back of the legs, of course, got nothing. And then moving on to the front of the legs, pretty much probably the most controversial thing I've seen today. And there is one very obvious flaw, okay? And we'll get into that. That's the fact there is no dual molded boots. I mean, every single piece of reference material, it is obvious. He's got very notable regular black boots, and they do make, red and black dual molded legs already. And it would have been absolutely fantastic if they would have been able to somehow print the leg print they have on there on those dual molded legs. It would have been pitch perfect, man. But that is the one, just like, very obvious, 100% critique. That is not accurate. Lego did not do a perfect job on that. But then moving up on the legs, all right, to another piece where people are kind of 50-50 on, all right? People brought up, relatively good point, and I'm going to bring up kind of my rebuttal to it, all right? So in universe here, again, the reference materials are kind of 50-50. Some of these times he's got a waist cape, all right, where it goes around the back and goes around the sides of his legs, all right. Sometimes he doesn't, all right. On every single piece, he does have the little piece of cloth that goes down, kind of covering like his crotch area, like down from his belt, in between his legs. Like every piece that I see, every image he does have that, and they do represent that. That piece right there, I don't think anyone has ever expected that type of material on a figure should be cloth. All right, that's perfectly fine that it's printed. It is what it is. I don't think anyone's disagreeing on that. But it's the fact on those side waist capes. Here's where we start getting into some people on the internet saying, hey, when clones have it, it's bad, but when Malak has it, it's good. I've got three things here. Three things, and then let me know down below what you guys think. All right, number one is the reference material is so 50-50 on it. There are obvious times in the video game even, let alone other toys, where Malak does not have that waist cape going around the back and going around the sides. All right, unlike on Clone Troopers, where when you get Commander Fox, when you have Captain Rex, ARC Trooper 5s, every single time they're in their clone armor where that waist cape is on them, it's 100% on them. It's never off. Like, they don't have their clone armor on and they just take off that waist cape. We've never seen it, at least. I'm not saying that's not possible, but for actual reference material, it does seem like it's 50-50 on the fact of, Malak could have an actual waist cape or not. So I think in that scenario, it's a little bit more understandable that we have this right here as kind of that common ground, because Malak doesn't always have it, all right? He doesn't always have that cloth piece. Sure, you can make the argument, that they could include it either way, and I agree with that. They could. They easily could, I think. For an extra penny, they easily could. Then another thing, all right, involving these waist capes, all right? And I think this really is all what it boils down to, even on the Clone Troopers, all right? This is really what it is. The fact on Clone Troopers, we have had them have cloth waist capes and plastic waist capes before. They have had physical waist capes in the past. Like, we have had exact representations and prior references of Lego being able to do that, and that is of course the more accurate way to do it and represent it, and Lego has done that in the past. They are fully capable of it. All right, unlike on Malak, there is no one-to-one comparison of, we did not have a Malak 10 years ago that had a cloth waist cape, and now this is considered a downgrade. This is our first Malak. So unlike on the Clone Troopers, where that really is kind of the problem, and if they would have started printing waist capes back in 2008, you guys are all right. There would be no room for any of us to have any disagreements and saying that Lego's quality is going downhill. So here's another thing on Malak. All right, there's that. All right, the fact we haven't had a prior Malak to have reference to. And, we can't say that, oh, there it is cheaping out these days. They never had a Malak before. So there's 2 points. And then the third one, in my opinion, kind of maybe a little bit more personal preference, is I do think having that cape going behind him does actually help this minifigure, because it shows some sort of cloth and kind of like covers up behind and doesn't make like his legs look as like, naked or like barren, in my opinion. So I do think having the cape behind him, having some sort of cloth on the minifigure, does help the fact of, and having, again, people are going to say that the Rex has a pauldron, I get that, but the cape goes down below the legs. So kind of like at first glance, it looks like, all right, down by the legs, he's got a little cloth. All right, you get what I'm saying? So I think just visually, it looks a little bit better, unlike on some of these clone captains and commanders they're coming out with, where in my opinion, it looks like the clone's got no pants on, man. They look so top heavy, in my opinion. You know, they got a big head, you know, they got a pauldron, they got big guns on them, and the legs literally have no dimension to them. Unlike with this Malak minifigure, where there is a little dimension to him at least. So there's my thoughts on Malak, man. I really do love this Malak minifigure. I think the only gripe is the fact that they could have used some dual molded legs on him. Other than that, I can't wait to put this guy, man, with Darth Revan and Darth Malak, that trio. Oh my gosh, is that going to look good, man? So truly, I give him like a 9.5 out of 10 on that Malak. You know, really pretty much perfect. Leave your thoughts down below, though. Moving on to ARC Trooper 5s here, coming in the 75387, Tantive 4 hallway, $55, coming out March 1st. Has a bunch of other minifigures, of course, and then ARC Trooper 5s being the 25th anniversary figure. So, at first glance, here's the minifigure. Here's a full shot of him. He will include his antenna, of course. Some people are questioning that. So the antenna, he does have his helmet. He has a head underneath. He has a cloth pauldron. He has a torso. He has legs. He has a couple printed arms, and then he also has his big guns, which that's a whole different story. But let's break it down here. Let's start top to bottom here. Rangefinder, it is what it is. I do think they should be making that piece in black again. I think black might look a little bit better, but DBG, it is what it is. Helmet, look, here's where I think the whole figure falls apart. I'm just being frank. Can anyone honestly tell, or can anyone honestly say that helmet print is good? I'm talking about on the actual head of it, the forehead of it, the cheeks or whatever, the actual visor, that's par for the course. That's 2020 style. But the actual print on the top of the helmet, man, I can't get it. I mean, the angles aren't right. It's very thin, very far apart. Can any of us honestly say that looks good? So there's that. All right, moving down. All right, we're going to move underneath the helmet here. We have a head, actually. We have a custom printed head. I did hear they were going to do this a couple weeks ago. I did hear the fact they were going to have a 5 up there. I did not know they were going to include the goatee as well. I got to give them props. This is a 10 out of 10 head. If anything, I've got my GCC one right here. And literally, besides for a little bit of an expression, I mean, it's literally basically the GCC head right here. And yeah, props to Lego, man. 10 out of 10, wonderful. Probably will look better having the helmet off and just displaying it with that custom, unique printed, actual face form. Moving down, then we have the pauldron. It does look like it will be a cloth material. At first glance, I liked it. I do appreciate the fact of what they're trying to do. Okay, they're of course trying to get that ARC Trooper style. They're probably basing it off some customs, over the years they've seen. But I think it does fall flat, quite literally and figuratively, in the fact of it is just as Ryan said yesterday or 2 days ago. It looks like his helmet and head is literally on like a carrying platter, and you're just carrying the helmet around on a flat tray. All right, I do wish there was some way they could have got a little bit more dimension in the fact of being able to put it over the shoulders more. In a perfect world, they would have brought back the 2012 version, which was a ARC Trooper pauldron that had 3 points of connection and was able to actually cover the shoulders. And if they were able to get that print on there, make it dark bluish gray. Prime example of why I think the 2012 ARC Trooper will forever be the best clone trooper they ever made. But the pauldron, I respect what they tried to do. But execution, just a little poor in my opinion. Moving on to the torso here. I do like everything about the torso, other than the fact I do still think that ammo pouch is just a little too big. I wish it was not 1/4 of the torso. Just shrink it 25%. I think everything's fine and dandy, but again, that's just a personal preference. I think even according to reference material, it's not accurate, but it is kind of a small nitpick, all right? Moving on to the arms, I can appreciate arm printing, of course, anytime they do it. I do think Lego's arm printing has been getting better over the years, and this is another example of that. It kind of really wraps around the arm more, really goes up to the top and goes down to the bottom better. And it is what it is. You can't fault them for arm printing. Moving on to the back of the torso here, there is no printed backpack. It is just a regular, back of the clone armor torso. So it makes me, wonder, and even other people are thinking, are they going to include a little brick built backpack or a molded backpack? There's still a opportunity for that. If it is brick built, it definitely, the people that have these figures right here would not be able to get that yet, or maybe even know. So there is still a chance of some sort of a backpack, but I guess bottom line of it is nice, the fact there's no 25th anniversary logo. Moving on to the legs then, or actually the guns. You guys know my thoughts on the guns. I think they look way too big, man. I don't know why they're using, machine guns as their pistols. I'll never get that. They have, multiple other better looking, molds in the, over the past, decade and a half. And these guns just aren't it. Then the legs, I'm not going to get too much into it. We all know, look, printed waist capes on a clone like this. Comparing it to Malak, ARC Trooper 5s always has his waist cape on. All right, we've had cloth waist capes in the past. I'm looking at them right here. And the printed ones on 5s, another thing, it just looks so damn top heavy, man. It looks like 5s has twig legs, all right, massive guns in his hands, all right, a pauldron giving him more dimension up here, a helmet on. I don't like the look of it, man. And again, I think, they should bring back cloth waist capes. The print on the legs, there's a lot more they could be doing, a lot of lackluster stuff on there, but I think that's probably just have to do with, print limitations, which it is what it is. Print limitations happen on every single figure they ever make. There's really no minifigures that I've ever seen from any theme that have broke out of print limitations. But there's that. All right, so bottom line of it, what I can say about 5s is the positives I like, all right? The fact you can include a rangefinder on them, but again, helmet holes, not my favorite how they executed it, but the fact of being able to put the rangefinder there, unlike say on this GCC one, is nice. All right, the printed face, wonderful, excellent, 10 out of 10. I appreciate the fact of what they tried with the pauldron, and then the arm prints are, basically perfect. All right, so about a 50-50 minifigure. I'm gonna give it like a 4 out of 10 probably in total. I'll give it a 5.5. All right, it's 5s. I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. I'm gonna give Malak a 9.5 out of 10. One thing I can say is I think this GCC Phase 1.5 custom ARC Trooper helmet will definitely be selling pretty well. I recommend anyone pick this up in their next GCC order. It literally looks like the ARC Trooper helmet, or the ARC Trooper Hammer helmet from 2012, but in 5s form, and my gosh, does that look great. So that is everything, guys, for these 2 anniversary figures, kind of my full breakdowns on them. The first one's for the year. There will be more coming out later in the year, but we're not going to see those for multiple more months. The next one that we might see is the one from the anniversary, or the Visual Dictionary 25th anniversary version. That book is coming out early April, so we might start seeing that figure maybe in the next couple of weeks or so. So definitely stay tuned to the channel, guys. Leave your thoughts down below on these 2 anniversary figures. Do you guys like them? Do you guys not? Which one do you like more? What can they improve on? And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys, and stay safe.